right, what is up, everybody? I got Edmund Fontana in the house.
How's everybody doing
So
today?
what's up? What's up? So here's the deal. We've been in the studio shooting a little bit today. Obviously, Michael has mentioned this, and we're pumped about it. We are going to be coming out with Replace Your University. So I've been shooting in the studio with Edmund, a lot of the Replace Your Employer stuff, getting that all squared away. So we got some good stuff coming.
Let me tell you, shooting in the studio, it is not easy. I don't know how many different takes we had to do today. I was so frustrated.
It was, yeah, no, but you did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if anybody has never been like had a camera shoved in their face with these bright lights, which they can't see.
Yeah.
And you're told like, hey, you can't mess up. Like you cannot stutter. You cannot like mispronounce a word.
I did a lot of that.
Otherwise we have to start all over. Right? Yeah. So it's like we have some shots that are like 2 minutes long. Yeah. You get a minute 45 seconds in, and then next thing you know, it's just start right back over. And then the next time you start over, you get 3 words in and you mess up.
Yeah, happens every time. Now I know why like movie stars get like paid so much. Could you imagine like trying to be an actor and like remember all those lines they have to remember? Oh man, there's no way.
Now I'm a finance guy for a reason.
Yeah, they deserve that money, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but all right.
They do live in California.
They do. That is true. Anyway. Inflation is a real thing, especially there. So anyways, we just wanted to get in the studio. We wanted to talk a little bit to Edmund about his experience in the past. He's been working as a full-time real estate investor for how long now?
Going on 2.5 years.
2.5 years. He's also a real estate coach here at Replace Your University, and specifically director of operations for Replace Your Employer. So, we're just going to kind of cut it up a little bit. I want to talk about his history in the real estate world, some fun stories that he's got to tell us. He was telling me about one that apparently there was
the dead guy.
The dead guy. Yeah. Tell me, actually, why don't you tell everybody about the dead guy?
Oh man. So I didn't actually find a dead guy. So let me kind of set the record straight there. Buddy and I were doing a flip, and you find out about these houses through like multiple different sources, right? Real estate agents, wholesalers. I think I picked this one up from a wholesaler. No, actually this was a bank-owned property. The bank closed out on it because obviously, people weren't paying their bills, but here's why. So the owner of the house passed away, right? Had cancer, passed away in the back bedroom. And believe it or not, his 2 sons that were in their early 50s continued to sit there and cash his checks while the guy, their own father laid dead in the bedroom. So I didn't know about that when I first bought the property. It wasn't until one of the neighbors came over and kind of explained to me like, what had occurred with this property, because it was a beautiful neighborhood. And I'm looking around, I'm like, why is this bank-owned property here in the middle of this nice middle-class neighborhood? But yeah, I mean, that was something else. Finding out about that, going through, and I mean, the house looked like a hoarder house. You had to clean everything out. So obviously finding the things that you find in a hoarder house, that was quite interesting.
So can you describe, like, was there a smell?
They believe it or not, so there was a smell, but it wasn't as bad as one would think it would have been. And I don't know if it's because it took like a year for the property to close because it was a bank-owned property, but there was, not only was there a smell that, like I said, it wasn't terrible, right, but there was a urinal literally next to the bed still, and it was still full of what.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So it still didn't smell as bad as the house that I found dead cats in the ceiling and freezer.
Oh, pause before we get into that. Is that house that you acquired, the bank-owned house with the dead guy in it?
Yeah.
Was that something that you held as a long-term hold, or did you exit pretty quick?
No, so I wanted to exit that one quickly. So we flipped that home. Purchased that home. What did I purchase that home for? It was around $220,000. Put about $50,000 in rehab into it. and we turned around and sold it for $360,000. So, obviously, there's your buying cost, your holding cost, your rehab cost, your selling cost. All in all, I think my partner and I made about, I think it was close to 35,000 total off that property. So
How long did it take you?
that one took a little longer than usual. It was about 6 months, but it was also because we had 2 other properties that we were, finishing up rehabs on prior to that one. So that was
but
kind
if
of
you
like
break that down, I mean, 35 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little under $6,000 a month just on that property. If you were to kind of break that out by month.
Yeah. And the best part about it is like, you want to talk about, time freedom. When you're doing real estate the right way, and you're not out there swinging the hammers, and you're not out, doing the sweat equity, you can learn the processes to do a real estate deal to where you put very little time and energy into it, and you can still make a significant profit with very little time and money. I mean, I do all of my deals, so I use other people's time, other people's money, and that's kind of how I was trained, which is what I want to do. I want to train individuals how to follow those steps, because it's been life changing for me, and the money's great, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's the time freedom. The time freedom to be able to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with my family that's what is what's important to me. And as, I don't know if you know this, I was an assistant principal at a high school, loved my job, but just decided that the amount of time that I was putting in there, 60, 70-hour work weeks. I really wanted to find more of a career, become an entrepreneur, and learn more about, how I can make money passively and get that time freedom back.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main reason why a lot of people do what we do, whether it be entrepreneurship or investing in real estate or day traders.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Like all of it, right? It's all geared towards the lifestyle. And when I say that, I don't personally, at least, I don't mean the big baller lifestyle. Yeah. I don't mean so I can go out there and spend millions of dollars a year on stuff and toys and things like that. What I'm talking about is, like you said, it's the ability to be a good present father,
Absolutely.
to be a good present husband,
Yep.
to serve in my community, to give to others. It's really hard to do that when you're working 60 hours a week in a cubicle, you know what I mean, over and over. And we have a lot of clients that live that life, that actually are in that cubicle right now. But, hopefully, most of those are replace your mortgage clients, and they're taking the steps necessary to get out of that, compounded amortized debt and take care of their situation and free up that liquidity so that way they can ultimately get their money working for them rather than them working for their money.
And that's what happened with me. It all started with Replace Your Mortgage. You know, got involved with Replace Your Mortgage, and then it kind of naturally progressed into, okay, this is real. What else is out there? What else can I do next? And then I've always had a passion for real estate, so I decided to take the real estate pathway, because in Replace Your University, there's multiple pathways that you can go down. And that's what I really like, right? You get to choose, what type of investor you want to become. And for me, it was real estate. And now that I know what I know, I'm super excited to be able to be, part of this team and a managing partner in Replace Your University and give back. And that's really what I'm looking to do next, is to teach folks how to, if you're not happy with doing what you're doing, maybe you need a fresh start. I want to show you how to do that, right? I want to show you how to replace your employer and do what you love, right? And if it's real estate, man, I can absolutely show you how that works.
Well, and even, I would argue the point, personally, I don't love real estate, right? I love the idea of going to a beach house and spending most of my time on a beach.
True.
Right? My wife would definitely love that. But real estate is for those of you who are worried by it or overcome by the fear of what could happen if we leverage this kind of money and take this kind of risk. Obviously, everything's calculated risk.
Yep.
But most importantly, it's what the real estate provides. The real estate provides a means for cash flow that can be passive or active, that can allow you to become your own boss and it allows you to ultimately look at the life that you want and say, I'm going to get that, and this is how I'm going to get there, rather than being defensive and just letting life happen to you.
Yep.
Right? That's a big difference. So that's really good. All right. So now I got to get back. Did you say that there was a frozen cat in the freezer or something?
So my buddy Clark and I, we flipped a house together, and it was one of our first deals. And, with our group, we like to partner up with each other a lot. And we found this house was a hoarder house, and this house was probably the house that smelled the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we walked in and there was 2 inches of cat feces everywhere. I'm talking about all over the furniture. I mean,
are you a cat guy?
No, not at all. I do have 2 cats. I love cats. Just kidding. No, I had to say that for my wife. No, I do have 2 cats, but not a cat fan. However, went into this house and you couldn't step anywhere, right? You literally had to climb over everything. Got halfway through. I think Clark was throwing up. I went back outside and was like, you know what? Like, I need a mask, right? And, I wish, we had the mask mandate back then, because then I would have been properly prepared to go in this house, because I was not. And as we started tearing things out and cleaning everything up, I think it took us about 2 weeks to really like get all the junk out of there and throw it away. We're like, this still smells terrible, right? And then so as my contractor was going through, he started, ripping out some of the ceiling, some of the walls, the drywall, and there were literally dead cats in the rafters.
What?
Yes, just dead cats sitting there in the rafters behind the freezer. It was absolutely disgusting. And that was really what the smell was. And, getting them cats out of there wasn't easy, because they were kind of stuck. And, that was, that's why I'm glad I pay someone to do that.
I was going to say,
there's no way
I could have
ripped
a
them cats out.
miscellaneous line item in your construction budget
Remove dead cats.
So just FYI, anybody who's investing in real estate, for any kind of dead body removal, apparently you need to have a miscellaneous line. Yeah. At least if you're on Edmund's deals.
But see, those I love those deals. Those are deals that make you money. The uglier, the better. Remember that.
That may be true in a few things in life.
Not all.
Maybe not when selecting your wife or something.
I don't know. Sometimes.
Just don't say anything.
Look at my wife.
Don't say
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Nope. You just give you the shovel right now.
Yeah, I know. Somebody be pulling my dead body out of the house.
That's true. You can find Edmund in the rafters.
She would do it too, bro. I'm telling you. She would do it.
That's funny. That's funny. So why don't you tell me this? Tell me, because I think that it's obviously there's the moments that seem too good to be true, right? Yeah. Have you had any moments where you were kind of going through and you got done with a deal and you were like, wow, nobody's gonna believe this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe, whether it be good or bad, but I can't believe like I just made that much money that fast, that easy. Tell me about like your best, because now prepare, because I want to know the horror story too. I want to know the worst fail you've had. So that's okay. That's fine. We all fail. Yep. Obviously, if I'm a baseball player, background in baseball, if you have a batting average of above 300, so if you get on base 1 out of 3 times, right? You're successful. You're a Hall of Famer. Yeah. So obviously in real estate, we want to be better than that. Yeah. But first start with actually, let's start with the bad. I like the bad news first.
You always like the bad news.
Give me the bad news.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't had any terrible real estate deals. I really haven't. And I think I contribute that to the way I was trained. Nate Lambert, he's an investor in our group, and he did an amazing job really providing me with the quality education that I needed, the support that I needed, and the resources that I needed to be able to find deals. And it's, like Michael Lush says all the time, it's math. It's not magic, right? You go through and you follow certain formulas, with the exception of, some corrections in the market or something. Like it's I don't want to say it's impossible to lose, but if you're running your numbers right and you're running them at the margins they need to be ran, like you usually always come out on top. You make some kind of profit or at least break even. That would be worst case scenario. But the other part of it is, for every property that I get into, I always have an exit strategy, at least 2 of them, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm getting in a wholesale deal and I decide I want to flip it, I can do that. But I'm also running the numbers to make sure that if the market were to drop, I'm able to, instead of flip it, hold on to it as a rental and still be able to make passive income off it monthly. So,
Right.
I'm gonna knock on wood. I have not had any terrible real estate deals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. How many deals would you say that you've done over the past, couple years?
Say I'm working on about deal 26. I just put two more offers in, actually this week. Put two offers in. I'm waiting to hear back from that. But about 26 real estate transactions total in about last 2.5 years. So I would say average
Yeah.
maybe a deal a month.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, you don't, I mean, if you're doing that volume,
Yeah. And
it's
that's
not like you have to hit home runs every time. But if you do, then amazing.
well, that's
right?
the thing. So like what I learned is, baseball analogy, right? I had to stop trying to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
And like I was always looking for that home run. And especially in today's market, right? You stop looking for the home runs and you start looking for the singles, the doubles, maybe the triples, right? They add up, and that's kind of like that works out just as well as, finding that home run. Now, if you find a home run, you hit the home run, great. But, go for a single, go for a double, especially in today's market.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think in anything, I mean,
Yeah.
Just chip away, get on base,
Yep.
and then good things will happen if you keep
Absolutely.
doing the right things. All right, so tell me about the most kind of like insane deal that you've had so far, where you're just like, wow, I cannot believe I made that much money that fast.
Yeah, it was actually one of my very first real estate deals. It was a wholesale deal. I ended up wholesaling and I thought I was going to flip it. So
Pause. For those who don't know what wholesaling is, why don't you explain that?
got it. So wholesaling, so you do not need to be a real estate, why am I forgetting the word?
You don't need to own the real estate.
No, so you don't need to be, damn, I hope you can cut this out.
No, you're good.
A real estate agent. Thank you. I don't know. My brain does that sometimes. That's why I'll leave that out too. So you do not need to be a real estate agent. All right. So you can just be an average person, and what you can do is you got to be good at finding deals. But the one thing that I loved about working with Nate was they have the software to be able to find deals and, send out these mailers, do some skip tracing, get phone numbers, send out text message blast, emails, that sort of stuff. So, that's something that I had to learn. But I was sending out these mailers and got a phone call back and went out and met this lady. And it was a lady that inherited a home from her father. Home wasn't in terrible shape, but there was definitely some water in the basement. Needed to be, fixed up. New roof, new windows, new siding, all that. Definitely need to clean up the yard. There was some stuff inside that needed to be cleaned out, repainted, all that good stuff. So definitely needed a rehab of about 30 to 45,000. And then so I got it under contract, worked with her. The one thing that made it an effective deal, I think, was the way I got it under contract. So we operate off what we call the ready, fire, aim strategy. Okay. Not ready, aim, fire. Right. So we go out, we find the deal, we get the deal under contract. Don't worry about the numbers, just get the deal under contract. And then that's when you analyze the deals, right? So that's when you aim. And, you leave yourself some wiggle room in the contract, which is called your due diligence period, to where if you need to back out or you need to renegotiate, you can. And that, I remember a lot of investors having interest in this house, and I was kind of new at this whole thing. It was like one of my first deals. And I came in, I got it under contract right away. And the lady was asking $100,000 for it, and I immediately got it under contract. And the other investors were looking at me like, are you crazy? You can't pay $100,000 for that home. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to lose money. And I basically was just like, look, you guys worry about yourself. Like, this is how I've been trained. This is what I'm going to do. And it worked out great, because what happened was I ended up getting it under contract. I built a relationship with this lady. We did have to renegotiate. I ended up getting it back down to $85,000. But with a wholesale deal, because you're just assigning your rights over to another investor, which is what I ended up doing, I didn't need to come out of pocket any money but $500 for the earnest money deposit, right? So, ended up coming out of pocket with the earnest money deposit, got it under contract, but then realized that, one of these other investors came to me and said he was really interested in the home and he wanted to flip it. So that's when I was just like, okay, I'll assign my contract over to you for $105,000. And he was like, okay. He was like, I'm doing all the work myself. I'm able to, pay for a home
Right.
that amount because he didn't have a contractor coming in. He was essentially doing the work himself.
Correct.
So that was a $20,000 profit. I would say less than 45 days. And I remember sitting in the attorney's office, going there to pick up my check and assign, do the close, and because I signed my rights over signed my rights over to another investor, and I picked up the check, and I remember looking around and saying, is somebody going to come in here and like take this from me? Because I can't believe I just made $20,000 in about less than 45 days, and it was not a ton of work.
Yeah.
And the attorney said to me, he looked at me and goes, is this your first real estate deal? And I was like, it kind of is. And he was just like, I can tell. He was like, welcome to real estate. This is what it is. And then I asked him, I was like, as an attorney, I know you're an attorney in real estate, but he was like, are you an active investor yourself? He goes, absolutely. He's like, I wouldn't have it any other way. So that, he was a great connection to make, and, obviously held on to that one. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So just talking just briefly, and, this will be probably the last topic we talk about on today's podcast, but, I get a lot of, I'm on the replace your mortgage, sales side and qualification side, director of qualification over there.
Yep.
And one of the biggest things I hear about or hear from people, I should say, about real estate investing is they just say, in my area, it's just too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I can make money in real estate.
Absolutely.
And, and obviously with the market, kind of doing what it's doing, it's just, flaming hot everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that is true to an extent in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, on, finding properties in this type of a market. I heard you mention that obviously, replace your employer, we're going to have that access to that tool, where you can locate deals and it'll help you acquire those properties quickly to where you can do volume of, 26, 27 properties, even more if you want to over the course of just a couple of years, which is amazing. But tell me, is it getting harder to find deals?
It is.
Okay.
I'm going to be completely honest. It is a little bit more difficult. What I noticed I had to do was, I had to take a look back about a year ago to find out how many mailers, how many text messages I was doing, all of that. And then what I realized was to get that same, because it really all is, it's just a numbers game, right? What I realized was I had to double my marketing. Right. So I just doubled my marketing to get the same amount of deals that I was getting, a year ago. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of people give up, right? So people will get involved in this and they'll send out a couple mailers. They'll do some maybe, text messaging, maybe some cold calling, that sort of thing. And then because, that first month they weren't successful, they just kind of stop and say, this isn't working, right? Yeah. It's the consistency. Yep. You have to stay consistent. And the months, it could be 1, 2, 3 months where you don't get any phone calls. And then month 4, you get 4, 5, 6. Right. So you have to stay consistent in your marketing is what I learned. The other thing I learned is, numbers are numbers, right? So whether you're dealing with a home that's $100,000 or you're dealing with a home that's $800,000, numbers are numbers. You have your ARV, which is your after repair value. Okay. And you can literally times that number by 0.75, that's going to give you another number. And then you subtract your rehab cost, right? Mm-hmm. That's the formula, which will give you like our maximum allowed offer. That formula works on any house, right? At any price, as long as you follow the formula.
Which is probably a good reason why you have not, lost money to date, on real estate, because you
follow the formulas.
It's just like, we were talking with a guy who trades stocks recently, and, he says, he does not go off track of his trading plan. Yeah. There's zero emotion to it. It's purely analytical. It is pure numbers. Yep. And I think that's where people get kind of, in trouble in real estate, is when they become emotionally attached to a deal.
100%.
And that's why, primary residence is typically, from what I've seen, if there's anybody, when I go through everybody's finances, if there's anybody or any property, I should say, that is outside of somebody's means, it's typically not an investment property, it's a primary residence. Because they fell in love with it and they're like, well, my DTI is 64%, but we'll figure out how to make it work. And, and sometimes they do. but oftentimes that becomes the big pain in the side. So it's just understanding the numbers. I would, again, I echo that, because if you do the numbers right, it's just like a replace your mortgage strategy, not to completely take over with replace your mortgage, but it's math, I mean, it's just math. We can go through a 45-minute phone call with somebody, and I can know from that moment whether or not they're going to be successful or not with it, and how successful they will be with it.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of, execution, right? And I think that's in the same way, replace your employer. That's what we're aiming for. Edmund, Nate, all our guys on the real estate team, they understand how to analyze deals, what to do to not get you in trouble, what to do to position yourself properly. I think that's really huge, is understanding positioning. And then based on that information, teach you how to execute, which is really cool.
I mean, our job is literally to train you how to do this so you don't lose money.
Yeah.
And it, just like you mentioned earlier, buying a house based on emotion, especially your first real estate deal, because you're trying to get into that first deal so bad, it is super easy to buy a house based on emotion. And if you force the numbers to work, you're going to have problems, right? That is the number one golden rule that we have in our group, is in, replace your employer and working with Nate, is do not buy homes based off of emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to recap, bought a house wholesale.
Yeah.
$80,000. 45 days later.
Bought it for 80. So I got it under contract for 85,000.
Okay. So bought the house, 85,000.
And then
45 days later, sold it for what?
105.
So $20,000 in profit in 45 days.
45 days.
I love your squeaky chair, by the way.
I know. Sorry.
Need some WD-40 up on that thing. All right. Well, 20 grand in 45 days. I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Not every wholesale deal is like that.
No.
But, I mean, you'll get a lot of wholesale deals that are 7,500, 10,000, 15,000. But I mean, just imagine if you can get one wholesale deal a month or every other month. Like, how much that could change someone's life.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of our viewers and listeners and clients, I mean, the matter of $2,000. I mean, you see when we run our calculators, if we were to include an extra $2,000 a month in cash flow, on people's, I mean, there would be people paying off their house in 2 years, all the time.
Yeah,
$2,000 in cash flow is powerful, compounded over 12 months when put towards debt servicing or growing wealth. So, absolutely, that's huge. $7,500 a month, dude. That's even better. So, I think that. It's going to be great. Replace your employer. I'm super pumped about it. I know you are. We're developing it. Be patient with us. We do have a new website that we're working on. We do have, a lot of different content that we're working on. So we're going to get that out as soon as humanly possible. But, one thing that we're driven on here on the executive team is just making sure that we don't rush anything, and that whatever we release, it will be done right the first time, and it's going to work well. And in terms of the educational value, the resources, the execution, the consulting, the coaching, all the things that we normally offer, we want that to be the absolute best in the industry. So we're going to continue to pour our time, our money, everything that we have into this to make sure that we can support you guys as clients effectively, and that over time we can take you people from simply looking at replace your mortgage as an opportunity to pay off your house faster, to complete financial freedom and independence and the lifestyle that you want. And that's the goal of what we're going to be releasing over the next few months. So I know you got to be getting back to Philadelphia. You've been.
Yeah, I left the house at 3:30 this morning and arrived here around 9:30, and we've been plugging away all day long. So we definitely got some work in today. But there is one message that I want to leave with folks is, the bottom line is you can do this, right? This is not hard, okay? All it takes is for you to get over the fear and take action, right? The taking action part is the biggest part of this, okay? And you have to surround yourself with individuals that know what they're doing, that can provide you with the proper education, resources, coaching, networking. All of that makes a difference, right? You can absolutely go to YouTube University and get all of this information, but it does not always provide you with the right education, resources, coaching, and networking, right? A lot of what we have is free. We give people an opportunity to check everything out first, absolutely free. Make sure you take the opportunity to look at it first so you can make an educated decision to see if it's something that you even want to do.
Yeah, I think that's good. Well said. Well said. So, for all you there, go ahead and subscribe below. Like the video. Please comment if you have any questions. I would love comments personally, because we can take, your comments and we can get Edmund back in studio. We can, ask him those questions and get you some responses, in the meantime while we're setting up the website. And then once that's set up, you can just give him a call. So looking forward to that. Thanks for coming in, brother.
Not a problem.
All right.
Take
care. God bless.